Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wife for Life with none other than your favorite marriage specialist, Michelle McElroy here, and none other than my awesome guest, LaTonia Lambert. Give it up for y'all. Yay! Woo woo. Hey, LaTonia.
Hello, how are you? I appreciate the love. I appreciate the love.
Yes. How you doing, girl?
I am doing well. I am doing well.
Wonderful. Well, let's kick this party off with you sharing a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. So, I am obviously a wife on this show, a mother of two boys. I'm a boy mom, author. I've authored a book, The Aligned Advantage. It's on Amazon about how when we're aligned with God, we have built-in advantage. I am a speaker and an empowerment strategist. I love to empower people with wisdom, with support, with encouragement, and anything else I can provide.
That is awesome. I told y'all she was awesome. Now, I know you're doing this new like streaming thing or something I saw when I saw you at the last event. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I have designed a course called Pressure, Problems, and Purpose. And so it is a series that really gives people real life tools without the advice that we're all exhausted from, of just push through, just hang in there. But it's really practical and spiritual guidance on how to push back on your problems and how to overcome them and walk in purpose. So I have a series available on my website, LaToniaLambert.net.
Wonderful. What sparked you your interest in writing something about those what is it, 3 P's?
Yeah, the 3 P's, right. Pressure, problems, and purpose.
Yeah.
Having experienced them myself, just feeling like, oh my gosh, pressure, problems, and so it is an inevitable part of life, but there is a way that we can walk in them with greater authority, with a level of confidence. When the pressure hits, there are some ways we can pivot spiritually, and some things we can do that bring more of a calm and bring more of an authority over situations versus feeling like a victim of the problem all the time. Like, oh, this is happening. And so having experienced that myself, I worked some things out and just wanted to share those with people. Yeah.
Oh man, I love the 3 P's in itself because I feel like when I start to focus more on my purpose versus the pressure and my problem, that the pressures and the problems did not have the same weight on me because I knew I was walking in purpose. And if I'm walking in purpose, then God's got me, you know? And so I can easily give him the pressure and the problems because I know I'm walking in purpose. So yeah.
That's so true. That's so true.
And what made you write the book, become an author?
Oh, the book. I love the book. The Aligned Advantage, again on Amazon. The same curiosity, the same pursuit of what it means to have an advantage. So I had two boys in sports. You're married to a sports legend, former NFL player, all of that stuff. And so more than anybody that advantage, what it means to have an advantage. And so I went on a pursuit of that, looking in the Bible, like all the people who had advantages and how did they have an advantage? And, long story short, God aligns an advantage with our purpose. He's going to help you accomplish what he's called you to do, and so really pursuing that and looking into that out of my own curiosity of how does God give advantage? When does God give advantage? Why does God give advantage? All that's in the book. Biblical examples, personal stories, business research. It's very broad in the different perspectives and situations and information. So it's a great read.
It sounds impactful, like life changing. So yeah, man, that sounds like something that we all need to get, y'all. So also, well, let's move into the wifehood portion a little bit here, and tell us, how did you meet your husband?
So what had happened was
Uh-oh,
I was
uh-oh.
I was at my church.
Uh-huh.
He was at his church. He had gone to church. He had a call on his life at the time. So this is why what was driving him. He had gone to church and he wanted some more church.
Okay.
So he had never been to my church. He came to my, he said, "Oh, I think I'm going to go to this church." So he came to my church. It was all packed. He almost left, but it's a long story. Someone said, "Hey, where you know?" So he stayed. And after service, he was waiting around and he saw me and the angels came down and the violin started playing. And he was like, "Oh my gosh." And he was like, "Wait, do I know her?" And the thing was, he worked with my college roommate, who was
Oh,
my, we're out of college now, but he worked with her. So I'd been in the office, but my hair was different when I was in the office, like it was pulled back. So he was like, he went to work like, "Does your friend go to this church?" And yeah. So they both came back and we all went to church and then we like got rid of her and went to lunch and the rest is history.
I got rid of her. She was in the way, like,
Thank you for connecting us, but we got it.
right. You got it from here. Wonderful. So how long did you guys date? And tell us about your love journey to marriage.
We dated for about a year and a half.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then we got engaged and got married. And, the rest is history.
And how long have you guys been married?
30 years.
30
Yeah.
years, y'all.
We
Woo!
just celebrated 30 years. We went to Vegas and renewed our vows in a
Oh,
chapel down there. Yeah.
that is awesome. I love that. So listen, we're trying to be like you. We'll be 30 January of 2026. So by the
Yay.
time this airs, we will be 30. So
Club.
30 is exciting. Tell me
Yeah.
about 30 for you. What do you feel like you have gotten out of being married for 30 years? How has it blessed you as a woman of God?
There are so many different seasons. So I think I've just been blessed in understanding the seasons of life. Like,
Mhm.
5 years of marriage looks different than 10, looks different than 20, than 30. And I'm a different person than I
Mhm.
was. I
Yeah.
have evolved, right? Hopefully, right? We all have, are evolving, hopefully, right? And
Right.
so I've evolved. So is my husband. And so 30 for us is like, okay, it's almost like how do we reimagine and reinvent, so to speak, the marriage for now? Because we're different and we're doing different things than we were 20 years ago,
Yeah.
and so what does that look like? Um, and that can be um, perceived and processed in two ways, right? It can be perceived as like, oh, like a bad thing, or it can be perceived as this is a great opportunity. Like we can reinvent the marriage, so to speak, or reimagine. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like what it means to be, like how we engage each other. What are our dreams? What are your dreams? And so that's where 30 is for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. 30, there's a lot of different seasons that come with being together or being
Mhm.
married for 30 years. That doesn't even include the dating season, but just the different seasons of parenting,
Mhm.
the different seasons of career, yeah, all of that. And so yeah, I one of the things that I think I got most being here is that if you stay with it, if you're intentional about it throughout and you stay with it, it gets great. Like
Yeah.
I mean, every season I feel like, we've grown in a way that really blesses the union. And I know Ray and I have been very intentional every season to stay connected. We didn't want our children to get older and we be strangers when they move.
Mm,
So that's why I asked that question, like, what has that been for you? Because I really feel like I am living in the best days of my marriage right now.
well, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
So let's go back to first of all, your husband going to two churches. Oh my goodness. Girl, a lot of people are like, man, churches like post COVID, people are so happy that church is shorter now, and
I
most churches
know, right?
have adopted that, mindset that church doesn't have to be 2.5, 3 hours anymore. It could actually be an hour, hour and a half in and out, and do your thing, live it, versus just sit and have it spoon fed to you. But I just think about early days in a
Yeah.
relationship. He's already seeming to have that calling on his life. What was that for you? Did you already have a calling, or did you go into ministry as he was doing his thing? How did that come about?
That's great. That's so funny you said church. Like we used to go to church, go back to church, and stand in line to go to church, stand up in church. This is the truth. I'm talking about in little hills on the wall. It's crowded. I don't get a seat this week. We're on the wall. We're standing in line to get in. We're standing in line in service because new building isn't built yet. And it was just a different hunger and a different, you know, energy around it, which was great for our dating, right?
Right.
Like God setting us up. But so to your point, your question, so my husband was called first.
Mm-hmm.
However, the training and the way that we were taught was if you're called, your wife is called in the sense of called to the ministry. She may not be called to do what you're doing,
Right.
but y'all are called. So he couldn't even get certain credentials if I was not on board. Or I remember having to, I had to take a test, I had to take a class when he went to a certain level. I had to go every month, I had to study. I was like in working full time, I had to pass this test. After a while, I'm like, hey, I'm asked, no. Look, what, you know, man, it was a lot. I
Wow.
remember one time I was just like, I cannot do this. It was so much. And so anyway,
Is that a
eventually,
denominational thing?
yeah, it was a day. And I'm thankful for that training because everything was to get, it was, you're in this together.
Mm-hmm.
And so initially I was the wife, but still like, you're his biggest supporter. You're, whatever. You have to be on board. They understood the importance of the wife,
Yeah.
basically. That's what I'm saying. Eventually, I did get a call on my life several years after that. And
Mm-hmm.
so then I began to move. And then we were in the minister meetings together and we were in, doing things together. So that's how that went.
Yeah. That's so interesting. It made me think about our beginnings. And, I originally did not grow up in church. So when I got to college, now I grew up in relationship. I didn't grow up in church. So I knew about God. I prayed to God. But we didn't have a Bible in the house. We had the daily word. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
would read the daily word, but I didn't have a Bible to really like get to know God and for who he is. I just
Mhm.
knew that he was with me because I grew up in a neighborhood that was kind of rough. So I was like grateful to have somebody who I could pray to and cry out to and feel protected by. But once we got to college, Ray and I went to the same university, Eastern Illinois, and I just felt drawn to church,
Mhm.
but they didn't have a consistent pastor. So
Mhm.
um, Ray and I met, and then I kind of fell off because I was like, every week or every other week it's a different pastor, and you know how that is. Some people you resonate with and some people you don't. No offense to that pastor, it's just style and everything, you
Mhm.
know how that goes. So then we got a regular person, and Ray begged me. He was like, please come back, please come back. And so this pastor I really connected with and went in for a deep dive. And then it was like I took everything literally because I didn't have a religious nature because I didn't grow up in church. So when the Bible said you must be equally yoked, and Ray and I got married, I literally worried that I was not equally yoked with him. So if
Mm.
he signed up for a class, I took the class. If he was going next level in his walk, I was doing the same thing. So
Wow.
we did it together, like everything, because and even still to this day in my mind it's very much like a equally yoked thing. And I know that's not necessarily what was meant by that scripture, but I just want to be that helpmate that
Yeah.
can really like be there with him, not
Mhm.
just be, a sounding board, or I'm just
Right.
not a passive contributor. Like I could never go to a new church and just get the word and go home and come back every Sunday and do that. No, I have to serve. I have to be a
Yeah.
part, an integral part of what's going on there. So that's always been different. And I guess because of that, God has always, pulled me toward that direction. So yeah, I love that you had it, but you had it in a way, especially back then, that was very supportive of the growth, spiritually, of the wife and not just of the husband.
Yes.
That
Definitely.
that's dynamic. Like I love that. That would have been awesome to me. So okay, so ministry wise, what was that like? Like I know you guys started a church. When and how and where was that calling? And where were you mindset when that calling came?
So we were married and then we went to the church where we got so much training and so much poured into us. That's where like I learned you guys are in this together. This is how you support your husband. This is eventually when I got into my calling, tons of support, tons of cultivation. Eventually we felt called to launch a ministry. We did that. I think we had been there maybe 7 or 8 years. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, maybe in like 7 years. And we had been
Okay.
there. And so we felt led to launch a ministry.
What
We
type
did
of, when
that.
you say launch a ministry, was it
A
within
church.
that church or
Oh no, we were sent actually to launch a church. So
gotcha?
we did that. Yeah, we did that for a season. Then we served at a church, the one that we served at before we pastored for like 9 years.
Mhm.
And then within our same denomination, we were sent to pastor a church, and we did that for 7 years. And so now, yeah, now we serve as associate leaders at a church. So
Wow.
yeah.
So the type of church that you come from, they really believe in church planting, it sounds like.
Yes, definitely. And on top of that, I should mention my husband's a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army, and so he pastors soldiers, and he
Gotcha.
travels abroad, and he trains military units in chaplaincy, and so that's a huge part of his ministry. So we've done that alongside,
Woo.
done some local church ministry alongside his call in the military in the marketplace. And so
Yeah.
that's been amazing. Yeah, that's been amazing.
And that's a lot of like when I have a visual of that, that's like driving up a mountaintop and down into the valley and up a mountaintop and down, and not in the sense of success as the world would have it, but just all the ups and downs that come with all the change and things that it
Yeah.
seems like you're making every 5 to 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
How how has that presented a challenge or pressure, maybe even tension within your marriage? Have any challenges come up because of that?
Absolutely.
Mm,
So I think that all the different things brought like a lot of joy, a lot of fun, a lot of adventure, challenges, obviously, right? Like a new church is like, oh my gosh, that was fun, exciting, but like, oh, y'all didn't tell me this part, because God, it was, there are things, yeah. And so, pastoring, exciting, amazing, fun memories. You get to build, create, do things in the way God's given it to you.
mm,
And so that was amazing. And then you also have the challenges that come with that, and our own personal growth through that, right? Like, so it's who are you and how you mature through all those different things, the fun stuff, the challenging stuff, the disagreements even between you all, you know um and so yeah, there's a lot to it. um Serving places, the memories, the relationships we built even in those situations, when we were on staff or serving, and just lifelong relationships, lifelong memories, lifelong impartations, you know. And so it's all good. It's all
yeah,
good.
yeah. Yeah, I think about, so when Ray was done playing football, he started working for an organization that sent him out speaking, and somewhere into that we end up creating a nonprofit. And so we've pretty much been doing ministry together all of our lives, but now we are building something around that's kind of our own. And I oftentimes talk about when it comes to relationships, especially now in this day and age, that men already have the task of learning to be a leader, because if they
Mhm.
weren't taught in their upbringing, now they have to learn new skills when they get married on how to be a leader of this current household. But now women are so advanced and educated and just brilliant, and they have voice and value in their own right, that now men are challenged to learn how to lead a leader. And that
Woo!
brings a whole nother layer right into the mix. So
Yes.
with that being said, I think about going into ministry together for you guys and for Ray and I. And I just remember, sometimes we didn't see things the same, and we didn't want to execute things the same, and we didn't recognize sometimes that was actually a good thing that we weren't the same. But oftentimes, and too many oftentimes, and I use the sports analogy because I'm in that world, but if you have a football team and you've got 11 guys on the field at once and all of them are quarterbacks, how successful will you be? There's no one to catch the
True.
ball.
True.
There's no one to hike the ball. There's no one to block defenders. So I could imagine that even just going from place to place and trying to build something great, and feeling like your God gifted you in certain areas and gave you a voice that is of value as well, that may have been challenging. But then even on the flip side of that, sometimes just creating an atmosphere or a culture that respects the wife of the pastor could sometimes be an interesting dynamic as well. Have you had any unique experiences where you guys have had to deal with learning how to work together in ministry, with both of you guys being so smart, so intelligent, so much to offer? And or have you had any instances where you had to set some boundaries, or have some poignant conversations around even just how to support one another in ministry when it comes to the congregation and, people like that.
That is so good. Oh, there's so much there. I think that for us, early on, it was kind of easy. Because easy in some cases, right? Like just because we had that training and that
Mm,
support of expectation, right? Like, she's gonna do this. What she, it was just like, so it kind of just worked.
wow.
Then you get into those pastoral scenarios and things don't always, maybe you think I should handle it this way. Maybe I think you should have handled something differently. And there is a dynamic of the wife in the church. And, that can be interesting. And they have their, you know, they have the, so they have the church has a special place in their heart, right? Like, because it's their little thing they're doing. Not that little thing, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
God has put them, let me say it in a more spiritual way. God has put them over this ministry,
Yeah.
and you're there, and you want to be a help, right? You don't want to be a prop, making things, and so it can be delicate, right?
Yeah.
Like, something happens, is it their fault? Are they tripping out on your wife? Your wife is the priority, or are you tripping out on that little project over here? It can get complicated sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that, and we learned very early on, you have to be, you have to stick together, and the enemy plays on that, and you have to back each other up, and you can't
Yeah.
let anything come between you. Work it out, figure it out at home, but don't let these folks come in between um you.
Yeah.
So early on, it was easier. As we matured in the ministry, we had to work through that.
Mhm.
And now, to your point, it's a new learning curve for us, because it's not we don't look like we did then. We're not doing
Yeah.
what we did then. And so now it is like, well, how do you lead a leader? What are you doing? Okay, how do I come into that? How do you come in? So we have a little bit of a new learning curve now.
Mm. Yeah, I get that. Especially, just making sure that the union, sustains the whatever impact that may happen, as a part of
Mhm.
being the in the forefront, and all the different people who may have thoughts and opinions that they feel necessary to share. So,
Yes.
that ooh, I could imagine that could be really difficult. And I just remember when we were younger in ministry, Ray and I, just having this mindset that, you know, I want our marriage to survive whatever we go through. So Ray has always had a public facing role career wise as a
Mhm.
football player, as a public speaker, and then as a minister slash pastor, always public facing. And we don't have a problem. We're very transparent. We don't feel like there's much, if you lifted our rug, that you would find out that we probably haven't already put out there somewhere. But I do, even early in marriage with him playing football, remember that outsiders sometimes, unbeknownst to them or even unintentionally, would could create waves in our relationship, and we had to figure out how to set boundaries, but also have a mutual understanding of how to operate with others, because even the Bible said things should be done decently and in order. And so we had to define what decently and in order was to the both of us and to our marriage as a whole, and to God with his expectations of our marriage. Because to me, the greatest and the most saddest thing is when a couple that is in ministry, a pastor and his wife, or a minister and his wife, don't make it. When their marriage doesn't make it, it makes me so sad. Divorce makes me
Yeah.
sad anyway, but that really makes me sad. And I'm glad to see that people are recognizing that more, because, like Ray and I, we go to this church planners conference, and we've gone, I want to say this will be our third year since we've been doing that.
Mhm.
And they usually have tracks that you could go to for workshops and learn about different subject matter. And this past year, they had tracks for people who wanted to learn about how to sustain a healthy marriage and be in ministry at the same time. And every time I went to one, because of course, that's what I'm gonna love. So I'm going to almost all of them. And girl, when I tell you, LaTonia, everyone was so crowded they had to bring in more chairs.
You said everyone was what?
So crowded they had to bring in more chairs.
Wow.
So many ministers wanted to know and learn how to maintain a healthy marriage while doing ministry. And that, like, I literally, it brought tears to my eyes,
Yeah.
because I always felt like it's a shame the divorce rate amongst Christians is the same as in everyday culture, and every,
Hmm.
I mean, we try to live by this higher standard, so our marriages should be more successful, in my opinion. Maybe that could be perceived as wrong for me to think that way, but I'd like to see that number go down, and I'd like to be a part of the solution as well, with the gifts and the knowledge base that God gave me. But nonetheless, it's great to hear that the track you went through taught you guys a lot that helped you have those discussions ahead of time. And so
Yes.
when I think about that, I want to ask you, what advice would you give a woman that is in a relationship or going into marriage, or is even early in marriage, with a pastor, a minister, or someone that's in ministry?
I would say first to pray, and that's not a cliche. Like prayer is, I'm big on prayer, and so that's just the foundation for everything. It's the what do they say? The tip of the iceberg is the thing that's going on underneath the water that no one can see.
Yeah.
And so it's a supernatural assignment. And so you have to have supernatural resources, and prayers at the top of that resource. So I would definitely say prayer. I would then say to prioritize the marriage and the kids. Don't martyr them for the ministry.
Say that again.
Don't martyr your marriage for the ministry. Don't for the men, don't let the church become your wife and treat the church better than your wife or your ministry. Don't martyr your children for the ministry. And so I think that I looked out and I did a lot of things to try to, like, hey, we're going to be here all day. So when we move to a space, or we're coming in as the leaders, oh, let's make this. I know we're going to be here after church. Let me have a little space. They can come and eat some food, and they can watch a little show, something.
Yeah.
You have to be thinking about the kids, so they're not just, you know, and I did a lot of things, but even so, if I had to do it differently, I would even be a little bit, I would watch out for them even a little bit more. So that's the advice I would tell someone in ministry. Watch your kids, watch, you're so, you can become, I won't say you can become overwhelmed. Like I was
Mhm.
working too, you know? And so I was working and doing the ministry and the kids, and you can be a little overwhelmed and a little distracted. And so there could be things going on that's like impacting them, or they may kind of be saying, and you like, you trying to get this ministry going, and you know what I mean? But you got to
Yeah.
lock in on those kids because he's really probably in the zone.
Yeah.
If he's Pat, you know what I'm saying? He's in the zone. Kids breathing, they all right. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You
Right.
got to be locked in and discern, you know? So that's what I would say. That's going to, and lastly, I would say to be present with consistency
Mm.
because people are so up and down. So be
Mm.
present with your spouse with consistency that they can count on. Support, love, kindness. The people, Pastor, 1 week, and then don't let them leave something. Now they're mad. So your husband has to deal with that up and
Yeah.
down. This one's here, they gone, up and down. So as much as possible, when we can be there as um, consistency, be
Mm.
present with consistency. Yeah, pray, prioritize your marriage and kids, don't martyr them, and be present with consistency. That's what I would say.
Man, that is a word. Be present with consistency because ministry has a lot of ups and downs. And man, I mean, you really spoke to me with that, just recognizing the additional value in creating a safe space at home, an
Mm-hmm.
atmosphere where your husband can come home and relax and, as they say, let his hair down, find peace, and that's not to say, that your needs should not be communicated, but that is to say the importance and the value in knowing and understanding our role is everything. And I believe just doing that makes it a lot easier and more palatable for our husbands to receive whatever our requests are, so thank you for that
It's so
because
true because
go ahead.
yeah, I think just for them to know that they're loved on a consistent feel it, right? Know it, I should say, to feel it from us so regularly and the kids as much as possible
Yeah.
because there's so much coming at them. Maybe it's not a good, maybe the sermon wasn't that great this week. Maybe somebody left.
Yeah.
Somebody's mad. All the, and not that it's always that, but there's these little microaggression attacks
Mm.
that say you're not. And so when they have that consistent, no, you if this whole thing goes down, you are all of that
Yeah.
to me and to us. So you don't need that from somebody. I mean, it's great if y'all align and agree, right?
Hmm.
But you know, you
Yeah.
mean the world to us. And to feel that on a regular basis when those hits come is comforting.
Mm. Yeah. And I would imagine restorative too.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, we get our ultimate feel from God, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
to have that level of comfort, affirmation, and kind of filling our emotional cup or tank, with love and appreciation and
Mm-hmm.
hugs, kisses, and all those feel good things that sometimes men may not feel comfortable asking for, but we know they
Mm-hmm.
need it. That's restorative. I like that. I really, really like that. Yes. So let me ask you this. Is there anything that you could think of that you would do differently?
I The first thing I thought of is invest. And I mentioned the kids part, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I was on it, but I'd be even more on it because that's just important. You know, you're not going to be happy if your kids are off the rails,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Yeah.
and they go through their different seasons, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But even then, you want to be there to advise, know how to pray, you know, so you just can't get enough of that. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
So I said
Yeah.
that part. So another thing I would mention would be I just invest. I would invest. Uh, in my 20s, honestly, maybe it's where I was raised, you know, I wasn't really thinking about uh, my 40s
Mm.
or 50s. I remember my first job, they were taking, you know, when you get a job, they take the money out for the 401k.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have a part that's like an automatic generally. And
Yeah.
so at least it was then. I called up my husband. I laughed about this because he was in finance at the time. And we laugh about it still. I called up the HR department, like, why is this money coming out of my check? What is this money coming out? Why y'all take my money out of my check? I want my money. You know, so they explained to me, and people are telling you all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm in the here and now, you know,
Yep.
and I had some sense of, but not to the level. There's just so many little things you could do and not
Mm-hmm.
have to have a whole lot of money. Just open up the universal life, pour into it. Your kids will be millionaires by the time
Yeah.
there's little things, you know, that and so I would say that have that
Yeah.
foresight that, hey, you know what? I'm not just trying to do something for me. I'm trying to do something for a generation or a couple generations after me. Make
Mm.
that decision early,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and it it impacts the decisions and opportunities that you even can see because you have that mindset. That's what I
Mm.
would do. But it's
Yes.
late. I'm jumping on it. God's going to redeem the time.
Amen. Amen. Yep, it's never too late. And it is a little sacrifice, but that's that's this walk, you know. It's full of sacrifices. So
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, invest, invest, invest. I like that. And I like it's in alignment with the word, like, you know, not being the borrower, but being the lender and being able to bless your children's children.
Children,
You
right?
know, like, man, you know, so yeah, yeah, love that. Thank you. Great advice. Great advice. And then lastly, I want to ask you this. The title of the podcast, Wife for Life. What is, in one word, a phrase, a sentence, what is a wife for life to you and from your perspective based on your experience? 30 years of experience.
Ah, so I think about when God first mentions woman in the Bible, he
Mhm.
gives Adam a wife. Um, he says, I'll make her a helper, but helper is the weakest translation. It's actually in the Hebrew, azur, which means rescuer, which means deliverer. It's the same one word that he uses when he talks about him coming for us to help us. So a wife is this one who shows up in situations to in life or death situations, in important situations to rescue. How many times have we done that? Do you feel that? Does that
Mhm.
resonate with you? It
Come on.
resonates with me because that's what we do.
Yeah.
So when I think of a wife for life, she's not just some, you know, assistant or the weakest translation, a helper. Nothing wrong with the helper, but she is a rescuer
Yeah.
in the time of trouble. She has the comfort. She has the love. She has the kindness in all seasons. When it's wonderful and going great, and when it's looking like it's all going down, she can see, you know what? This is working for us.
Mm.
We're going somewhere. The kids are going to be all right because I'm praying.
Amen.
All of that. So That's what a wife for life to me is: a rescuer, a deliverer, a helper in the time of trouble and in all seasons of the marriage.
Mm, that is so deep. That is so deep. I don't know about you guys, but hey, that's my prayer. God, make sure that I'm in alignment with being a rescuer to Ray.
Mm.
You know, I want to be a rescuer to my family, to my husband. And man, I hope and pray that for you guys too, because that, man, she could preach a sermon off of that one. Mother's Day is coming up. Where you preaching that, girl? Where you preaching that, sis?
Oh.
That is what I'm talking about. You guys, I don't know if you guys knew that. I just recently learned that. And so when you said it, I was like, man, that she hit the bullseye on that target. A rescuer is so powerful, and it doesn't replace the power of God. Um, it is an accompaniment, it's a tangible outward expression of how much God loves us. And
Yes,
it's us being a vessel that he uses to show that.
that's
Man, what
right.
a phenomenal way of describing wife for life. That's one for the books right there, LaTonia. That's one for the books. Well, listen, thank you so much, LaTonia, for being on Wife for Life podcast with us. You have dropped some nuggets that I think every wife of a minister and pastor could relate to, and those who are coming into the fold can learn from. So, thank you so much for joining
Oh,
us again.
thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Yay. And thank you guys for watching another episode of Wife for Life. Hey, if you got something from this, like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things to keep us going, y'all. So we know that this is working for you. But again, make sure you share this with someone. God did not give us the word to hoard it just for ourselves, but he wants us to spread the good news. We'll spread the good news of Wife for Life podcast too, guys. I thank you again for joining us for another episode of Wife for Life with none other than your favorite marriage specialist, Michelle McElroy. And until the next episode, guys, I wish you a lot of happy loving.